Most founders focus on just one trend. Will Nitze leveraged and outlived them all. IQBAR survived the keto crash, they grew through the supply chain shortages, and they scaled past $100 million in revenue, not because it was trendy, but because Will and his team were relentless. He spent 5 years losing over $1 million a year while obsessively tweaking every single ingredient, label, and product. He built a brand that doesn't rely on hype, discounts, or influencers, just operational discipline, sharp execution, and products that just keep getting better. In this episode, we dive into how he grew through all those challenges on the path to profitability, how he built a lean team that moves millions of units of bars a year, and why IQBAR may be the most quietly dominant CPG brand in the game today. So let's go Beyond the Blend. All right, welcome everyone to the Beyond the Blend podcast. Today's guest is Will Nitze, founder of IQBAR. IQBAR is an all-natural protein bar, but it's not just protein. They also combine nootropics so you can get that natural brain boost. Will has been a very successful founder and really glad to have you on the show today. Thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so tell me, I'm going to switch up a little bit here. What's your favorite thing to do in Miami?
Oh, wow. Probably play paddle, which is kind of an esoteric sport. It's not big really anywhere else. I believe it's the fastest growing racket sport in the world, but it's not really that big in any city other than Miami. But in Miami, where I live, it is like booming.
Really?
And so I picked it up. I had played tennis and whatever, ping pong and other paddle and racket sports my whole life, but I never played paddle. I came down here, just got totally addicted to it, and now I play it, I don't know, 3-4 times a week. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah. It's like it started in Europe, right?
No, it was actually invented by some like rich guy in Acapulco, Mexico. He wanted to build a tennis court, but he didn't have enough room, so he invented this new sport.
That's insane.
So yeah, it started in Mexico, but you're in a glass cube more or less with no top. And so you play it off the walls. It's a lot more athletic than pickleball. And it's also quite a bit different than tennis because like with tennis, if you hit an overhead and you could hit it X or you could hit it 2X or 3X as hard. And either way, it's a winner.
Yeah.
But in paddle, it's actually not ideal to just slam it because then it's going to bounce, hit the back of the ball.
Give them more time.
And go up and go. And then the guy on the other side will track it to the net and then just put it away. It's all about like placement, controlling speed, timing. Yeah, it's fun.
That's interesting. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun down there in Miami. I was just down there with you last week, and back in Minnesota today, there's 12 inches of snow that got dumped on us the other day. So I totally get why you moved to Miami. It's a great place and a lot of fun to grow a brand. But so I've had the honor of working with you over a few years, and it's been really fun to see your guys' growth over these last 3 years especially. But so you guys started IQBAR, I think it was 2017. Is that right?
Yeah, we did a Kickstarter December 17 through Jan 18. And
okay.
Fulfilled on that mid 18. So we sold our first unit mid 2018.
Got it. Okay. But the idea started then. You were working on the brand ever since then. Now, you guys have crushed so many goals, so many milestones that just about every CPG brand founder wants to achieve. You guys are in mass retail. You're in Costco nationwide. You yourself are really a voice in the community for entrepreneurism in CPG. But I want to go way back to like when you first came up, that daydream of an idea of starting a plant protein bar. What was that like? Walk me back to where you were at. How did that idea come into your head then?
It was definitely an evolution of thought. So I knew I always wanted to start something or take a swing at starting something since probably being in college. I don't think in high school I was like, I definitely want to be an entrepreneur. I actually think I was like, I want to be an investment banker, or I wanted to make a lot of money in corporate America, I think, as a high schooler. But then that shifted in college, and I was like, actually, talked to a bunch of people who went into banking, and none of them seemed very happy. And so I was like, okay, I want to start something. But I took computer science, and I was like, actually, I hate this. It just wasn't for me. And so it was never going to be a tech product. And I also just love physical products. I love things I hold in my hand. And then there's just like in parallel, I got fascinated with cognitive neuroscience and psychology and just like all things brain related, which is totally different, but those were just the classes I enjoyed most in college. But I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I couldn't map all of that to a job, and the shot clock ran out on college, and I was like, all right, I just need a job. So I just took a job selling and marketing software to oil and gas and utility companies. It was a startup in Boston. And it was great, actually. I would not change anything. I'm so glad that I did that first, because I really learned the inner workings of a job, and how you have a boss and a boss's boss, and maybe you even have a tough boss, and just like building all the foundational skills of how do you create a PowerPoint deck? How do you like learn the ins and outs of Excel? How do you run a meeting? How do you pitch someone who's way older than you and more senior than you, but still be thought of as an authority? Like all the just bedrock skills I developed. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I was like, I don't want to do this for 40 years. Like that would not be cool for me. And it lit a fire under my ass to actually force myself into thinking about what I could create and how I could become my own boss. And so I also got fascinated with nutrition at the time, but really nutrition as it related to cognition. This was like 2015, 16.
Yeah.
And experienced personally the benefits of going super low carb. And then I also read a couple books. I read this book called Mission in a Bottle by the guys who started Honest Tea, and that got me fired up about food and bev entrepreneurship. Yeah. And so all of these forces combined, like the brain interest from college, not really liking my job, reading that book on Mission in a Bottle, all of it combined into, I'm going to make a brain food and bev product. And then it was just like, what product? Because I was initially interested in beverage. Then I was like, I'm going to need to raise tens of millions of dollars there. And that sounds really hard. And so it morphed into, I landed on bars, because I was like, all right, what can you jam together in a bowl and is like a giant market and a growing market, and it's shelf stable, and you can sell it online and offline, and bars. So that was the origin.
Man, I love that. So tell me, what brands or products were your inspiration as you were really starting to dial in on bars?
IQBAR was a big one, but just because it had just sold and it was like this like mega exit. It was a $600 million exit, which was like everyone was
especially
shocked by that.
Yeah,
especially huge. Then. And they had such a meteoric rise too. I mean, it was just like the most violent product market fit I've ever seen. It was just like the pull on that business was so hard that it was just because Whole30 had hit, and then they were like the only bar that qualified for that. And then paleo was giant, and they were like center of the bullseye for paleo. And there was this whole movement towards less processed, clean label. And then they had what I would say is the best rebrand of all time.
It was
in consumer goods. And so it was just like check, everything aligned. And then they had that mega exit. And so I was like, yeah, that was definitely like the biggest inspiration for me. We wanted to create a totally different product, but just like how they did that was so cool. So yeah, I'd say that was the big one.
Man, that's it. And they crushed it then, especially in 2016, 2017. It was, it came on so fast. Like they really, if you weren't in those like keto circles or CrossFit circles where it was really starting to grow, I remember just like it hit, when I started seeing in retail, it was everywhere in a very short amount of time.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, and literally everywhere.
Yeah, Peter did a phenomenal job with that brand. That's great. So then tell me a little bit about, and I've heard your story a little bit. Your podcast with Eating Glass had a really great breakdown on your intro to that you went through multiple iterations to really get it to where it was to a production order. But one of the things I really like about your guys' brand is keto was really hot when you started it. And I think this was a shout out on My First Million last week, which congrats, by the way. That was a really fun podcast to listen to. But you did a great job of appealing to different trends so that you weren't like siloed into one trend that might fade out. Was that intentional at the beginning, or did you like just develop into that as you saw keto fading?
So let's go back to the IQBAR example. And Peter's very open and honest about this. That's why I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Like IQBAR was really hot, and then it was really not, right? Because it was a breakfast item, and people started intermittent fasting and stopped eating breakfast.
Yeah.
Taste started to matter a lot more. Keto blew up, so no one wanted any sugar, and there's 12 grams of sugar in a bar. So he just hit that moment so well. But then if you looked over the medium and long term, it's like actually then it got a lot more challenging. And I think that was also an influence on me of there's this idea of like focus and do one thing. And I just took a different sort of tack on it of I actually would like to be 10 things because and this is a call back to the My First Million thing, it
Yeah.
maximizes my trend surface area. I don't want to be like an awesome keto bar and then keto dies and then I die, which happened to so many brands.
Yeah.
I don't want to be just a simple ingredient product and then keto happens where no one actually cares about simple ingredients. It's all about macros, and then I die because that happened, right? So I wanted to like, what are all the objections someone could have to a product? Oh, it's too sweet, it's too much sugar, it's not clean label, blah, 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 blah. What are all those? And can I solve literally all of them? That was the question, which of course you can't, but you can, if you really work at it, you can solve, call it 90% of them.
Yeah.
And when you do that and you're rooted in like science versus like fads, you have this just enormous trend surface area. And so for us, we could ham up the brain thing, but then if that wasn't really why people were buying it, we could make that secondary. We could ham up keto, which we did during the keto craze. Word keto in giant font was on our pack, and then keto died, and then we totally moved away from that and moved into low sugar and clean label. So we've been able to adapt and morph, same product, but as trends like come and go, we've morphed to meet the moment. So the answer is not don't opportunistically ride trend waves. Actually, you have to do that to get big. It's that you have to wave hop versus marry one wave.
Yeah, I like that. And it's, were you intentionally building that in when you were first developing the product, or were you more heavy on the brain food concept?
No, the original concept was brain food, and because that was just so different, no one had really done it. And then, but we tried to suppress our ego to the point where, and this is the beauty of launching a product digitally.
Yeah.
We just got so much feedback, review, post-purchase surveys, that we have to depress our ego of, we don't want to position or market ourselves the way we want to. Let's just listen to the market. And what we heard was, we'd ask, why do you buy this? I buy it because it's clean label and low sugar, and like brain was like 4 or 5. And we're like, okay, that's really interesting. And then also the product was not a protein bar to start. It was just like the brain angle. And it was, I think, 8 grams of sugar. So it was like less sugar, but not ultra low sugar. And then people were like, why isn't there protein? And can you get sugar lower? And so we would look at these feedback through a lens of, can we make that person happy? And in so doing, not piss off all these other people. And if the answer is yes, then you do it, because it's just incremental, it's additive. And so then we morphed into brain and body. And that was like a key moment in our history that unlocked just so much more total addressable market. And then also we repositioned the product, and we realized, oh, people shop for bars this way. They go to the aisle or the digital aisle and they look for protein, source of protein, sugar count, how clean label is it, and what does it cost? And then after they consume it, what does it taste like? And so we were like, okay, we have to like lead with A, B, C, D, and then E is the brain piece. Oh, by the way, plus brain nutrients, versus inverting the order of operations, saying, hey, here's brain food. That's intimidating, and you're going to ostracize the consumer. But that was how we started, right? So you just have to have a low ego and just be willing to let the market take you where it wants to go.
Man, that's so good. And that's something, like, as I've worked with you, and you got to see like just your content, your podcast, and just seeing your approach to business. I don't know if I've seen many brand founders be as attentive to detail as you are, especially around product. And obviously the most successful brand founders they're very attentive to that. But I'm curious to know, like, for you, did you have to learn that, or was that just from the beginning you were locked into that detail?
I always find it crazy when CPG founders are not product obsessed, because the product is the company. That's all you have. It's everything.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they'll totally like offboard that to, let's say their co-packer, let's say their co-packer has an R&D setup, and that's no knock on companies that do that, but, and by the way, that can be really useful as like an assist. But if you don't understand the guts of your product intimately, and for me, it's like I'm actually driving the guts. Like I'm deciding on putting A versus B versus C versus D in the product, and even like figuring out where to source those things. That's so important. If you delegate that or delegate that too much, you lose sight of, you lose the ability to continuously iterate it and evolve it into like perfect product market fit, because you never have perfect product market fit. You're always chasing that dragon.
Yeah.
So we are still to this day. The product is never done. When I started, I thought, oh, like you make a product and the product's done. You formulate it. No, actually, the product is never done.
Yeah.
AG1, right? Still
Always doing
making
it.
new iterations. So I think if you're crazy, if you're a CPG founder and you're not in the weeds on that.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And it's like to your point, like there are people who are successful with it. They were just really good marketers, but it's ultimately if you compare that like good marketing skill set with obsession about product, you just create unstoppable momentum once you really hit product market fit.
Yeah. Can you succeed without it? Yes. But you're introducing a whole vector of risk.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather have a grasp of all of it
Yeah.
and not rely on getting lucky?
That's so good. And that's something I like about your guys' brand is you built it with a lot of counterintuitive advice. Most people doing a natural food product, as you said before, is they go into natural grocery, high margin, the really like the crunchiest kind of sector of the market, and then they back their way into mainstream. You guys went complete opposite. You went mainstream. And even more than that, like most supplement or health foods, they start off with it's high margin, it's high marketing spend, and high promotion. Where for you guys, you're almost the exact opposite on all facets of that. Your competitive price. I don't think you guys spend a lot on marketing. I would imagine not. And it also seems like you don't do a lot of promotion. You really just try to lead with the best price. Tell me a little bit more about what the approach there, why you chose to go against the grain in those strategies.
Yeah. So for starters, you need money. Unless you're starting like a perfume brand or something that's 80% margin at the gate, you just need money. So that's just that you can't really bootstrap a CPG brand. There are these like freakish outlier cases. I think our IQBAR was one of them where they were making it like in their basement, and okay, but that's so exceptional, it might as well not be the case. So you need money, and so you don't need a crazy amount of money, but we lost $1 million every year for the first 5 years, and then we flipped profitable in the 6th year.
Wow.
So we needed $5 million, right? Before we flipped profitable and controlled our own destiny. But that's actually a very small amount of money relative to like for every dollar we've taken in, we've delivered, I think, $13 in net revenue.
Wow.
That's like actually really lean. But so like point being, we needed money to price competitively out the gate because we weren't going to have the volume such that we could make money at value prices.
Yeah.
And we just went into that eyes wide open. We're like, we know we're going to lose money. We're pricing sharply to grab market share. And we're playing the game that we think we can get to volume before we run out of money. And then by that point, we'll expand gross margin enough to where we'll flip profitable with that sharp pricing. It's just a different strategy. A lot of people will start premium and then reduce price over time. We just started at a sharp price, knowing we'd have to raise a few million bucks. But look at like our profile relative to peers. We've raised so much less money than by a factor of 3, 4x, 5x relative to peers of our size. So I would argue we did it the right way. But to your point earlier, like going more conventional, I think a trap a lot of people fall into is they think, oh, I'll do the crunchy granola type deal, and then that'll just translate to conventional. And it just doesn't. So many cases, it just doesn't. And so it's, in my opinion, better to learn how to crack the code on conventional or earlier, because quite frankly, that's where all the volume is. And then natural will come as long as your product's a fit for natural, or it won't. You don't need Our product works great in both areas. Like we Sprouts is a great customer for us, natural, etc. Like great customer. But so is Costco, so is Walmart, so is Target. You don't need natural, and all the volume is in conventional. So if you want to build a big business, you got to go conventional. You might as well learn earlier than later if it's going to work there.
Right. Yeah, you're building on good foundation versus trying to back into it after you've already had the revenue, the customer base. It's very tricky to do, to pivot backwards if you already grow.
And volume is the North Star. Volume is the North Star. So you got to go where you're going to get volume. Which is conventional. And then on the price thing, it's just no one knows your brand. Take anyone who's listening. You have a brand. No one knows your brand. No one. You might think they do, and because maybe people on LinkedIn or Twitter talk about it, but you don't realize that's such a tiny fraction. Like your
It's a
household
pinprick.
penetration is like 0.5%, maybe
Yeah.
1%. So effectively, no one knows who you are. And so I think people are like, oh, they think a couple of things. Let me get so where I think the market knows who I am, and then I'll get on shelf, and then I'll move because people will recognize me and buy me. It's no, you're still at that point. No one's going to know who you are. So you need to leverage a couple things such that on shelf, such that even though no one knows who you are, you'll still move units.
Yeah.
And what are like those big things? It's really like packaging, branding, and all your call out hierarchies and being really on trend and price. And it's like those are both so giant.
They're
And it's
fundamental.
really the combination of those two things, which is what we call value. What is the price for what I'm getting for that price? And you can have a trademark, a logo that no one recognizes and still move units if you nail those two things. And I think a lot of people, they'll go into Walmart or whatever and they'll have too high of a price. And they're like, I don't get it. Why am I not moving units? Your price is too high.
Right.
So
Yeah, you take out the landing page, you take out everything else that you get the benefit of on going D2C, and like it really comes back to fundamental business. Just are you answering the question that the consumer is asking when they're looking to purchase something?
And it's way more expensive, by the way, to not move units. So let's say I came in at a premium price and my hurdle rate is like X and I'm only moving 0.5X.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, how do I fix it? And then I like put on IRC coupons and that adds cost. And then I do promos and I do all this other stuff. It's like, you should have just priced sharper up front and you would have saved all that cost and heartache. And maybe you're going to get discontinued at the retailer. Like, you got to be really smart around price. That's been one of my, and no one talks about this. Everyone's, oh, what great branding and what great this and that. None of that matters if it isn't priced right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Man, then that kind of dovetails into the next topic I want to bring up. So for you, obviously, if you're going to play a price game and you're going to move, you guys sell hundreds of millions of bars a year. And not even, you guys do a lot on the hydration product and the coffee, but like to move that much product, it takes, and you harp on this all the time, is you have to have an operational strength within your business. And one of the things I really love about working with you and just seeing your approach to business is you're very in the details of understanding what, and even it's not even that complicated of subjects, but it's just what are the little nuanced things with each type of process that you need to know as a brand founder to actually move this product in an efficient way through the manufacturing facilities. So, but with that, everyone sees the big revenue, sales, and sees the exits, but they don't really see all the behind the scenes stories that no one shares about the challenges, the operational stuff, the things that don't go as planned, and there's a lot of them when you're in manufacturing as in CPG. Can you share a couple stories of just challenges that you had to overcome? And stuff that people maybe don't hear about or don't expect to be solving when they get into CPG.
Yeah. For starters, like I had no background in food science or manufacturing or anything. But to your point, it's not rocket science. Like it's, I think at the machine level, it is actually really like technical. But take a bar line or a powder line, the actual like processes you can wrap your head around all of them. Just go to the factory floor and just look at it and look at every aspect of it 5 hours and you'll get the gist of it and you'll start seeing. Unfortunately, you have to learn via failure. Thing A breaks down. Okay, I didn't even know thing A wasn't even on my radar. Like, how did it break down? Why did it break down? How do we make sure it doesn't break down? Thing B breaks down. C, D, E, F. It just, I wish it could be more proactive, but it just is what it is, that it's more reactive. And then over time, I guess you can get more proactive. But yeah, I mean, like it isn't just the formulation, it's on either side of the formulation too that can kill you. So sourcing, I would say our biggest operational like nightmares and headaches were around sourcing, not even around the formulation, not even around manufacturing. It was sourcing.
Wow.
Especially in 2021 because we like literally couldn't get stuff. This was in the COVID era.
Yeah.
And it was just so gnarly. With our flavor house, we couldn't get flavors made for, I think it was like an 8-month lead time for a flavor. And we were like, how do you expect us to run our business?
That's game over. You have to solve that.
And so we pulled like this crazy stuff where via their like sample department, they were able to just churn out a bunch of like little batches of it. And
Yeah.
that kept us alive until we got the bigger batch. And there are all these like crazy workarounds we figured out. But that's what people don't realize. You have, and now of course tariffs, and then
Yeah.
there's all this crazy stuff happening in pea protein. There's like trade wars there that are even irrespective of Trump and whatnot. And it's, like the sourcing piece is way overlooked. And by the way, we took all that in-house. We negotiate directly with all our vendors, and then we source everything ourselves, which is like good and bad.
Yeah.
And then there's the formulation, and then the other side of the formulations and manufacturing, and stuff's breaking down there all the time too. Less so, I would say, on the powder side, although you can tell me if that's different. But
Never happens. Never happens.
But bar is like, it's actually really complicated under the hood, because the ordering matters a lot. Mixing wet ingredients, then like emulsifiers and fats, then dry ingredients, and do you put the chips in at this time or that time? And then, oh crap, the wrapper machine broke down, and now the dough's sitting on the line, and the dough softness is actually really important. And if it sits for 45 minutes, it's going to dry out. And so what do we do? And it's just like risk mitigation. Have a plan for every breakdown.
Yeah.
Which again, unfortunately, we had to learn by it breaking down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, long-winded answer, but biggest nightmares are on the supply chain side.
Yeah, I could see that. Especially, coming out of, you guys have built, most of your growth was post-COVID. And then with the tariff era that we're in right now, it just, there's always something that's going to be derailing your success. And it's, I'm sure you've been in business long enough. Like Jim Collins talks a lot about how every business is going to have bad luck and every business is going to have good luck. And it's just about how do you proactively work through your way through the bad luck, but how do you prepare yourself to take advantage of the good luck when it happens? And I think a supply chain is just like that. It's whack-a-mole some days. You don't know what's going to be a constraint that wasn't a constraint yesterday. I'm curious, as you guys were building that with the sourcing and working through the different manufacturing issues, I see some brand founders and even just people that are working in product development, they're taking on a new thing and they just don't realize they're like, it's like a wave of, man, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm curious to know from you, like, what's the mindset that you have when you're going through those problems? Because you could have picked a lot easier business to build than doing what you're doing now. But what is your mindset when you're encountering some of those problems that seem insurmountable and people are only giving you no?
There's always a way. And we really learned this in COVID because it was just so challenging. But there's always a way. You can always buy time. You can always beg harder. You can always weasel your way into line time. Like this is why I do think founder-led brands have a soul. And when you like remove the founder, you almost have like a soulless entity to a degree who acts founder-like at least.
Yeah.
It's like the Steve Jobs Apple versus the Tim Cook Apple. There's a reason they haven't really done anything exciting in a long time. So I just think it is as simple as that. There's always a way, and you can always make 10 more phone calls, and you can always jump on a plane and go to the supplier. You can always get creative, and people respond to that too.
Yeah.
They see you're like ultra bought in, they will want to help you. So that's not like a romantic answer. It's just like more of a grinder answer of, when it's survival, when it's death or life, like you can find it.
Find a way. There's a solution to every single problem. There's always more than one solution is the reality of it. There's multiple levers you can pull. I like that. It's Dave Ramsey talks a lot about, like, when I've gone through business coaching programs when I first started manufacturing, and he always said the key to making good decisions is having lots of options. And when you have an either yes or a no option, find time making more options. I think that's something I've heard you do often. Is just getting on the phone. It's not even like that complex. You don't need a PhD to do this. It's just like hounding and like calling, find another option. What else can you do? And just like that persistence. And I've seen times where it's like people like you and other brand founders, and even in our case, where just that persistence, you create 3 or 4. Actually, we could choose between 3 or 4 of these and we'd probably be all right. And that's where, like, I think some people just get overwhelmed with, this is insurmountable, it's not possible, I'm going to just give up and take the lead time or just forego the growth that we need to take on.
Totally. This is why it's so hard.
Yeah.
You have to be, it's not fun. None of that's fun.
But do you learn to enjoy it though after a certain point?
No, I never. Okay. I guess I enjoy it after the fact, right? In retrospect, you're like, damn, that's so cool. squeaked out of that problem, or we were 2 months away from running out of money and we pulled it off and we got that final fundraise, or which is true.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, it's really fun because you're
Yeah.
like, wow, what a great memory, and fires you up. In the moment, it's not fun at all. You're like, oh crap, we're gonna die. We're headed for the cliff. But I don't know. I guess some people get addicted to that, like
the
chaos.
thrill of it.
Yeah.
Problems are opportunities. Just depends on how you look at them. That's good, man. So let me ask you this. What keeps you up at night now? We're in tariff season. How is that affecting your business? What are you doing to help overcome that?
Yeah, tariffs are annoying for sure. But of all the stuff we've gone through, that's small stakes relative. Again, the COVID thing was so wild that anything after that is just a bump in the road. Yes, tariffs are extremely annoying, but they come and go, and it's like, will they be around in a month? I don't know. I think they will go away at some point. I would not want to be manufacturing something in Canada and selling it in the US or vice versa, which luckily we're not. 97% of our business or something like that, maybe 98% is domestic, and the vast majority of inputs are domestic. We're not getting whacked really hard by that. What keeps me up at night? I would say product. Like just knowing you have like millions and millions of units out in the wild, and I hope everyone you dread like bad experiences and little stuff, man, like a negative review. It's so silly. You sell whatever it is, 100,000 bars one day, and then you get this one negative review, and that's what keeps you up. You're like, man, that sucks. I wish I had done better there. You take it personally, like you are the product in a weird way. They reviewed it poorly. They reviewed you poorly. Yeah. So it's not even like logical what keeps you up at night, really. It's just whatever your brain latches onto.
Yeah, I could resonate with that. It's just like the pride in what you built is it can be the hardest thing to get feedback on. So there's gonna be people listening to this podcast that are in CPG, people in supply chain. There's gonna be aspiring brand entrepreneurs. One thing I'm always really fascinated with is you guys, most people to get to like Costco and mass retail, I don't know if it's most people, but a lot of times it's like their approach is build a lot of online presence, build success, brand awareness, then go to retail. And you guys had good success, don't get me wrong on that, but you guys went to Costco pretty quick compared to most brands. Would you mind just sharing for a new brand, a brand that's been building for a little bit of time now, would you mind sharing what was your approach to actually getting into Costco and what was that experience like?
Yeah. And we were in Walmart actually before we were even in Costco. So we went to Walmart pretty early too. So we built a big online business first, and I would recommend everyone do that if you can. Yeah. Because Walmart actually came to us, and the guy was like, hey, I saw you doing really well online. And because online innovation happens before brick and mortar innovation. Yeah. And so brick and mortar folks, you got to realize they're always looking at what's happening online. And so if you start with building a good online business, the ladder will come. Yeah. And then same with Costco. The buyer from the LA region hit us up and via our contact us on our website and said, not, hey, you got into the region. She was like, hey, I really like this product. Would you be willing to do a road show? And I didn't even know what a road show was at the time. And so basically it's just like sampling on steroids, and we did the road show and crushed all of our expectations and got that region. And then that region turned into a second region, which turned into a third region, and it was like dominoes. But why did that? Like, what was the first impetus? It was us building a great online business, which generated that email via our contact us, which then led to the roadshow, which then led to everything else. Be noticeable, I guess, is the lesson there. And the best way to be noticeable is build a good digital business up front.
Man, that's great. I love that. Okay, so you guys have grown a lot over the last few years, and so much of what your growth has been like, you've been focusing on the foundation of the business, the product, for so long. And like you said, you lost money every year until you got to the point where momentum really started to turn. Now you're seeing success. What is the things that you see most brand founders focusing on that they shouldn't be? And where do you see most brand founders in today's market where they're not prioritizing the right thing? Is it product? What is it?
Yeah, I think they focus on like brand marketing, and they really should be focused on direct response marketing. and just move as many units as possible via Amazon or your website or whatever. Don't overinvest in a really pretty website. Get a website up that converts. That's it. Don't overinvest in an epic branding exercise where you pay 200 grand for it. I've seen that happen so many times so early, and then ultimately they just have to rebrand and do it over again. Focus on a really great product, good enough branding, and a good enough website, and really good direct response marketing. And if you're good at it, organic content creation. Who's a really good example of this is the Dad Gang guy, the hat company.
Yeah.
He has a Shopify free instance. Like, he doesn't even use Shopify Plus. He has a very simple website. Like, he I think is such an awesome case study of just nail the product, and everything else is so simple. All his ads are really basic. They convert really well. So I think people just, frankly, raise too much money and spend too much money on brand marketing is the big one.
That makes sense. It's the thing that most customers don't actually care about. They care about the product, and that stuff's all secondary. That's great. So if you were going to start over today and market today's trends, today's consumer behavior, what product idea or what category would you go after in our market?
I really like powder. I think you're in the right segment. Powder doesn't spoil. I mean, it does, but it just takes forever to spoil. You can put it in a hot boat to another country. It's really light. If a package gets bounced around 10 times, it doesn't deform because it's powder.
Yeah.
I really like powder. So I think I would look at what are up and coming trends, like colostrum, for example.
Yeah.
It's starting to boom now, but there's still very few players in it. Creatine's a little bit, it's been around forever, but the boom is happening right now. And I still think the market could bear a few more entrants. So I think what I would do is I would actually vertically integrate. I would build my own powder manufacturing setup or buy one, and I would create a platform of powder products that hit on all these trends.
Yeah.
And maybe each one of those product lines generates 10 million in revenue, but like in aggregate, the platform does 9 figures in revenue, let's say. And I think I'd be like a fast follow. Like, I wouldn't try to spearhead something. Like, I wouldn't try to make something happen. I would look at what is just blowing up and be like a fast follow and come in as the value play. I really just like the value positioning.
Yeah.
Because it wins in all markets. There's always a market for value items. And vertical integration obviously helps you hit the price points needed to price at a value. So I think that's what I would do.
Okay. Well, that's great advice. I appreciate that. Where can our listeners learn more about you and your products?
IQBAR.com, or on Amazon, Costco, Walmart, Target, H-E-B, Sprouts, Wegmans. We have a store locator on our site. If you want to hear my harebrained thoughts, go check me out on LinkedIn, Will Nitze, Nitze, or on Twitter. And yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. One more question. What's your favorite product in your lineup?
I would say the chocolate mint chip bar.
Chocolate mint chip bar.
Although on the powder side, I really like the blood orange IQ mix, our hydration mix.
The blood orange is solid. I get a lot of feedback from my friends and family that use that, and they're always like, man, what is that super tasty blood orange? And like, it has nootropics in it, and it's always that and the mango are the two that I get the most comments
Peach
about.
mango, yeah.
Peach mango, yeah. That's great, man. Thanks so much for coming on the pod today. I appreciate it, and we're excited to see you guys continue to build IQBAR in the next year.
Thanks for having me on.